Well, hello there, Star Wars fans. It's your favorite Star Wars Piglet Bob here. And we're going to dive into looking at a review of the latest episode of Ahsoka that aired last night on Disney Plus, episode 4 of season 1, which I don't know if there's going to be more than one season of Ahsoka or not, but nevertheless, this is episode 4. And we'll get into it here. And let's find out what's going on, and we'll talk about it. All right. Of course, last we remember we left. Oh, no, not him. Although he's cool. Let me see if I can find it. Lastly, remember they landed on the planet with the damaged ship. Sabine and Ahsoka did, and landed there to do some repairs there at the planet where the big giant honking hyperspace ring is located. And that's a location where the Morgan Elsbeth put the map so they could figure out what. I guess it probably points to a general location in the void where Thrawn is, and also Ezra Bridger. And if you recall, they got the Balin Skull. That's who that is right there. He's working with the Night Sister Morgan Elsbeth. And they got the map back, and they're using the map to figure out or calculate coordinates so they can go to a hyper jump with that big gate to go see Thrawn. So that brings us up to speed to the episode that happened last night. So, obviously, if you're watching this, I would assume you've already seen episodes 1 through 3, but just in case, just please note, spoiler alert, we are giving away details about the episode. So you have been warned. We start off here with Sabine, and we see Hyung, who is voiced by David Tennant, making repairs on Ahsoka's ship. They're trying to get the transmitter and engines fixed to bring it back online. Meanwhile, Ahsoka's out here thinking like a normal Jedi, off to contemplating things and so forth, but also wondering exactly what it is maybe out there, because I'm guessing she kind of senses something. Sabine goes and checks on her. They have a little discussion about their situation and about Ezra. And there's a moment where Ahsoka kind of like tells her that we might have to actually destroy the gate or the map and not be so concerned about trying to go find Ezra. Of course, that didn't sit well with Sabine, because Sabine back in Rebels and Ezra, they kind of bonded like a brother and sister type thing, so they kind of feel like family. So Sabine does not want to do that to Ezra. Matter of fact, we'll see later on in the episode that the Dark Jedi Balin Skull actually is able to kind of manipulate Sabine because of that, because he's figured out her feelings, which for a Jedi, it's not hard to sense another person's feelings, especially if someone has no way of controlling those feelings, which is the case with Sabine. Meanwhile, Huang is still trying to fix the ship. And there we see the Night Sister Morgan Elsbeth, and the Dark Jedi Balin Skull and his apprentice. And I'm not sure who this is, but we do find out something pretty interesting about that today. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Had to take a sip. My throat was getting dry. Anyway, so once again, this show is kind of really slow in pacing. As you notice, even when I'm reviewing it and talking about it, I'm finding it hard to really say anything all too interesting about it because it just moves so slowly. I thought Andor moved slow. Oh my goodness. There's just sometimes it's like, really? We just got to stand there looking at each other the whole time? How about somebody actually do something? And they do, but it just takes a while for it to work up. The pacing is way off on this. And I don't know, I watched another YouTuber mention this about this is being a continuation of kind of like Star Wars Rebels, and that this is kind of like Dave Filoni's baby, and maybe he's taking the thing of he's trying to portray the meaning of it by everything being so slow and deliberate. I don't know. I think he just likes sitting around thinking and contemplating on every single move, and doesn't quite really understand that a story that just kind of continuing the whole time has a very slow pace to it doesn't really doesn't make for good storytelling. It tends to put the audience to sleep. Anyway, so we see right here Sabine is back inside trying to load up her weapons and everything, because their discussion was that they think, it's just a matter of time before they find them, and that they decide to do something about them and attack them right there at their ship since they can't fly off, which makes good sense. Sabine is apparently so rattled that she's even having trouble finding things. And it takes Ahsoka coming over and saying, here it is. Stop being so nervous. Don't worry about things. Everything's going to work out, so to speak. This show still feels very much like a Sabine show and not Ahsoka, which that bothers me a little bit because I kind of like Ahsoka. Sabine was okay in Rebels, but this portrayal of Sabine to me is not Sabine. Sabine was not melancholy. Sabine was not someone that was contemplative all the time or nervous or freaking out. Sabine was kind of full of life and colorful, just like her hair. So, I mean, I don't know what this is. Ahsoka does feel like Ahsoka, but she does feel like she's been purposely slowed down by the creatives here. Just, I don't understand. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Why would you make this whole, every single episode so far has been slow, plodding along, very bad pacing and timing. It just doesn't feel smooth. It doesn't feel exciting to me. It just feels meh. Not bad, but also not really good. That makes sense. So, now there was one or two parts in this episode I did like, but overall it just feels like the pacing is just makes it so terrible. So eventually, after all that discussion, they do get attacked. As we can see here, that there's uh, a bunch of the forces of Morgan Elsbeth, as well as one of the droids. They're attacking them. They're able, Sabine and Ahsoka are finally able to kind of defend them off. Sabine does all that in normal Mandalorian thing. You don't really see her draw her lightsaber or try to do any of that stuff. And of course, Ahsoka brings into action, fighting them off. Doesn't last very long. The battle doesn't. Uh, then next, we see the actual Rebel fleet. Actually, before that, Huang tells them that they need to stick together, that they're better when they're together. And then Ahsoka and Sabine decide to take the offensive. Well, actually, more like Ahsoka does, and Sabine just follows along. They decide to go and retake the map. So they run off. And then, of course, it cuts to the Rebel, actually, not, I guess, the New Republic fleet. It's not really the Rebels anymore because, obviously the Empire has been defeated. And they're just trying, and that's why this whole thing about loosely based off of Timothy Zahn's book, The Heir to the Empire, because it's actually going to be Thrawn wanting to basically restart the war and bring the Empire back to power again, aka to become the heir of the Empire. And they actually termed that phrase in this episode. So, and you see Hera, Chopper, and Jason. They decide to run off, even though she'd been told, "You don't have clearance to leave, General Hera, General Syndulla." And she says, "I don't care." And then she also was able to get a couple of X-Wings to go with her. One of the pilots is the X-Wing pilot that we saw in The Mandalorian that pulled over our Jin Djarin. And so there they are, the X-Wings. There's about 5 of them, and the Ghost ship are all going to jump to the location where Ahsoka and Sabine are. So they go into hyperspace. Matter of fact, one little part that I thought was kind of cool, they did let there's the guy I was talking about. Got a grayer beard this time. When they jump to hyperspace, oh, it's not here yet. It's a little bit forward. They let Jason do it. I thought that was kind of cool because that would be kind of a kid thing. He would go, "Come on, Mom, can I jump us to hyperspace, please? Can I push the lever? Can I pull it down? I want to make it go." Okay. Anyway. Then next we see, of course, Balin Skull, which he seems to be doing nothing primarily this whole episode, just standing around guarding the map. Once again, we see Morgan Elsbeth go over to where the map is and that containing that ball and uses her Night Sister magic to bring it to life and show the interface to gain the coordinates of where they need to go. You see that right there. And we saw that the other episode. And then she goes to her ship to talk with the droids, and they're calculating the hyperspace coordinates for the hyperspace jump to jump where Thrawn is. Meanwhile, Ahsoka and Sabine run into Shin Hati and a guy named Marek? I don't remember. the one I thought might be Star Killer. But if he is, spoiler, he dead. Because Ahsoka kind of does a number on him and slashes him, and then he goes poof poof. So we see a very slow lightsaber scene. Matter of fact, it takes a minute or two while they stare at each other to size each other up, I guess. They're trying to show the more Shogun way of things, and I get that. Some of that and the stances that they're both making on both sides. It's obviously they are martial art in origin. I recognize a couple of them. They're actually Shogun stances that you would do with a Boken sword or an actual samurai sword. Boken sword we saw last week, that's a little practice wooden swords. We did get to see Merrick right here, or Marok. I don't want to know what they call him, Marok. Spin his Inquisitor blades. But that lasted like 2 seconds till Ahsoka kind of sliced him up. Where's it at? Let's just move forward this way. Okay, see, we see there in the background, she's like sliced up Merrick, and he disappeared, and it looked like the same effect when Thanos snapped his finger in the Marvels. So it's like he just went into dust, which I don't know what that means. If he was actually real, that don't make a lot of sense because a lightsaber wouldn't do that to someone. But my theory is that Ahsoka slashed him, and he was only a witchcraft construct from the Night Sister, Morgan Elsbeth. Maybe he wasn't real in the first place. He was just a tangible, physical, audio, visual type construct. And while she dispenses with him, then of course we see Sabine and Shin Hati attacking each other with lightsabers. And they're also in a very slow lightsaber duel. Like I said, the pacing on this is just so slow. If I didn't try to look at the details on this, I'd probably fall asleep. And I know I almost did last week. There is the map, the holographic map that's being displayed from the map orb that Morgan Elsbeth excited with her Night Sister powers. And so they can figure out the coordinates for the hyperspace jump. This is where Ahsoka, as you can see right here, Ahsoka shows up. Balin tells her that I knew Anakin. And he tries to throw her off by talking about her past and that she abandoned Anakin in his time of need. We turned into Darth Vader and things like that. And she said, I'm not here to talk about my past. In other words, I want to fight. Now, here's the other thing that's really weird. Very rarely in Star Wars Rebels or even in the Clone Wars did we see Ahsoka fight with only one of her two lightsabers. With this whole episode, she doesn't use her second lightsaber at all. She sticks only with one lightsaber, her main lightsaber, not the second short sword, which is kind of strange and weird for me. It didn't feel like Ahsoka when she did that. She did that in the previous battle with Marok, and she's going to do it here with Balin as well. Of course, they have a long discussion about things because it seems like modern day Star Wars is all about standing around talking or eating and talking or watching them walk across the screen or walk here, walk there, very slowly contemplating stuff. Yeah, we get it. We're supposed to be cerebral about all this. I don't think they totally understand the contemplativeness of the way a Jedi functions. I get that, but it's also not done in a 5-minute stint. It's done in a few seconds, and it still gets the point across in the story that the Jedi is still thinking, planning their next move or planning the next 20 moves. Because it's like chess with the Jedi. And even though Balin isn't a Sith, he is still a dark Jedi. He was actually, he knew Anakin back in the Order. He's no longer part of the Order. Matter of fact, this episode's called Fallen Jedi. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, nobody in this series so far is technically a Jedi. Not a true Jedi in the Jedi sense. Ahsoka may be the closest, but she doesn't consider herself to be a Jedi. She considers herself to be just a person who cares. That makes sense. Because she left the Jedi Order, and ever since then, she don't think she's a Jedi. Balin Skull and his apprentice are obviously not Jedi. They're dark Jedi, but that's not quite the same thing. They're borderline Sith. They just haven't studied the teachings of the Sith, but they've embraced the dark side of the Force, even though they know better and they follow the teachings of the Jedi when it's convenient for them. That's why you don't see like his eyes glowing or him going into anger or anything like that. His lightsaber is red, meaning that he has embraced the dark side because the emotions and anger and things like that he feels from letting go and enjoying the dark side has turned his kyber crystal inside of his hilt red. That's why lightsabers are red for the Sith, but it's also in this case for a dark Jedi as well, even though they have not fully been taken over by the dark side. That's actually the difference between a dark Jedi and a Sith. Dark Jedi is still someone who was raised as a Jedi and has turned their back on that and started to embrace the dark side, giving into their selfishness, sadistic side, the emotions. But they haven't been yet consumed by the dark side, and they haven't started following the teachings of the Sith either. But they're not good guys. Make no mistake. They're not good guys. So, like I said, they have a long, drawn-out discussion. As you can see right here, they're both standing in a martial arts stance with their weapons, just like regular Jedi have been. They're sizing each other up, which, in my opinion, I get that, but it feels like they could have not taken so long with this part and got more into the action. I can excuse the talking, because the talking is Ahsoka and Balin both trying to convince each other what side they should be on and what they're really up to and what they're doing. That pushes the story forward. But then walking around pointing lightsabers at each other and not doing anything and sizing each other up for a really long time takes me out of the moment. Should there be a little bit of sizing up? Yeah, sure. That's normal. That's what they do. But not this long. The pacing is just so wrong on this. They finally get at it. They start finally attacking each other. Meanwhile, Ahsoka is trying to get to the map, and Balin's not letting her. And also, Sabine is still holding off Shin Hati. That comes into play here in a minute when Jin actually knocks Sabine down and takes away her lightsaber and everything. And then she shows up right over here. Well, actually, before she shows up back at the map temple place, Ahsoka gets gets her way to the map, picks it up, and she gets, I guess, magically burnt by the orb because of probably a protective spell of some sort by Morgan Elsbeth. Now, my first thought was, why is it she couldn't just use the Force to pull that orb to her? And then it dawned on me. Back in Clone Wars, there was several episodes that dealt with the Night Sisters and so forth. And the Night Sisters' magic is not affected by the Force. They are a force to be reckoned with. Pardon the pun. So she had to actually go grab it. And when she did, she winds up getting her hand burnt, and she's in pain, as you can see right here. She throws it. She doesn't throw it down, but she drops it. And then Balin takes advantage of that and tries to attack her. And he tells her once again, it didn't need to come to this. In other words, you could have been on our side about this. Typical dark versus light conversation through all this, trying to convince each other to join sides. Then, in the process of this, we see that Ahsoka loses focus when she sees Shin Hati show up without Sabine. She's thinking Sabine is gone or been defeated, because when she last saw them, they were lightsaber dueling. And so Balin takes advantage of this, and eventually, just as Sabine shows up, is able to knock Ahsoka off the edge. And that's where we see the last of Ahsoka. And Sabine's there with Shin Hati, who she immediately before Sabine showed up, she was actually knocked out by a force push from Ahsoka. So she's laying over there on the ground. Balin sees Sabine, and they have a nice little conversation. Matter of fact, to the point to where Sabine picks up the map orb. That's the last thing Ahsoka told her to do before she fell off the edge. You pick it up, destroy it. So you see Sabine here holding a gun next to it, trying to talk with Balin about this. And Balin tells her, says, well, you should have done what your master told you. And then he pulls a course again. Come join me. Join the dark side type of thing. We got cookies. But instead, what he does is he plays on Sabine's feelings. He knows that she cares about Ezra. Balin knows that Ezra's out there with Thrawn. And that Sabine is conflicted, does not want to destroy the map orb. That she would much rather go find Ezra. So he sees this as a chance to try to convince her, say, don't destroy it. Instead, come with me and nothing will happen to you. You won't get hurt. And Sabine then hands over the orb to Balin. And just right when she does that, then Shin Hati wakes up and starts force choking her. And Balin, true to his word, because he gave her his word, nothing would come, he wouldn't be hurt, tells his apprentice to stop. And so she's not hurt. Now she's on the ground, and she's eventually going to get handcuffed. And they take her to the ship on Morgan Elsbeth. With Morgan Elsbeth, that is. Then we flash over to the ship where Huang is, and he's got the, by holding two wires together, sort of got the transmitter working, and he gets a transmission from Syndulla, from Hera. And they talk a little bit, and Hera tells him, says, yeah, we are coming to you. We're already here. There's me and like some other X-Wings and so forth, and we're here to help. And then right before they leave, I thought this was a kind of a baller move on Balin. I'll be honest with you, Balin looks kind of cool, and I like him. I like his character. He just seems in this whole setting, everybody seems kind of slower moving than I think they should be. He gets out his lightsaber. Actually, see if I can show that. Nope, it's not going to show it. There we go. Nope. But either way, the map is back on the pedestal. There you can see it right there in a little small thumb. There it is. Okay. Boy, it's hard to navigate through this because it jumps every 10 seconds. There's not a frame by frame thing on this. And he had, after he got the map orb back from Sabine, he put it back in place so that Morgan Elsbeth and the droids could finish the hyperspace calculations. As soon as Elsbeth contacted Balin and said the calculations are done, get back to the ship, that's when he gets out his lightsaber and holds it over the orb, destroying the orb. Therefore, destroying any possible possibility of anybody following them without the proper coordinates on where Ezra and Thrawn are. Then this was kind of a cool scene right here, seeing the hyperspace gate come through the clouds to going into space to get prepared for takeoff. And here's all of them on the ship, including Balin. And that's a funny face to stop on. I don't really care for her. She may be a nice person in real life. I don't know. I just don't like this character. I haven't since she was on another, I don't remember which Star Wars show she was on. Either way, Mandalorian, probably. I didn't like her. I still don't like her. Then you see a surge where the hypergate is coming to life. It jumps off. There it is. Oh, come on. They jump to hyperspace with the gate to go meet Thrawn. And in the process, a couple X-Wings are destroyed and damaged because they got too close. The Ghost, however, and Hera and Jason are just fine. They were able to get out of the way. Jason says, I sense big trouble going on. Kind of like giving a indication that maybe he's force sensitive. Who knows? Like his father was. Then we go back and we see Huang back at the ship, trying to get a hold of Lady Ren, Sabine basically, and Ahsoka. Obviously, we know at this point right now, Ahsoka is not going to answer. And Sabine is with Balin. So she's gone. And we see pan shot kind of indicating, all right, we know that Ahsoka fell off the edge over here. Where is she now? And they kind of like pan over to it, kind of like indicating, okay, maybe we're going to see where Ahsoka ended up. And we do. But it's not, she's not hanging off the cliff or something. I almost expected her to be seen hanging off the cliff here or something. Or that she's down there on the rocks and she's unconscious or something. Who knows? But instead, we see her like this, unconscious, and she wakes up, and she is in what looks like to me the world within worlds. That was back in Rebels season 4. There was an episode in Rebels season 4 to where Ezra had pulled Ahsoka out of her location because he ended up in the world within worlds place. And actually, if you remember correctly, Ahsoka was supposed to have already died at the hands of Vader, aka Anakin. But Ezra saved her. So she's pulled out of that timeline. So it changed things. And it looks like here that she may be back in there, or I'm not sure what's going on here because we also see as she's in here, and this is the last part of it, we see her hear Anakin's voice, turns around. Oh, come on, show it. I want to see Hayden Christensen on this. The mysterious voice, I didn't expect to see you so soon. Now, that right there makes me wonder, when Vader died, did he become a ghost, a Force ghost? And I think in the special editions, we saw that he did. Anakin did, not Vader, but Anakin, because he turned back to the light side there when he died in Luke's hands, Luke's arms. So I don't know if this is the world within worlds, or if it's actually the possibility that they're trying to indicate that Ahsoka is now dead for sure. Now she's a Force ghost because she's in the same place that Anakin is. Come on, show me Anakin. I want to see Anakin. See, there's her eyes. She's looking toward her back going, hey, wait a minute. I hear something. There he is. There he is. Hayden Christensen back as Anakin Skywalker again. And he looks like he does back in the Clone Wars. Before he went dark. Before he turned into Vader. Before Order 66. In other words, the light side version of Anakin. So this is it's either the world within worlds. If so, how did he get there? Or is now they trying to say Ahsoka is actually really dead? I mean, there's still 4 more episodes in this season. I don't know how it could actually be the Ahsoka series if the main protagonist is now dead. But then again, the show has always felt like it's been more like the Sabine show rather than the Ahsoka show, which is really sad because I kind of like Ahsoka. Good old Snips. Of course, I'm a Clone Wars lover. And I did like Rebels as well, but I loved Clone Wars. Really got to see that dynamic between Anakin and Obi-Wan and Anakin, what it was like for him to actually have a Padawan. I thought that was kind of cool, a.k.a. Ahsoka. So anyway. So there you go. That's the end of that episode. And I'm not going to go into any more further detail about things. Those are my theories, I thought. So I'm thinking that maybe that they're trying to pull a fast one or a switch on us or something, making us think that Ahsoka's probably dead. When in actuality, I think somehow Anakin has ended up in the world within worlds. And now Ahsoka's there with him. So, and that's how the episode ends, and we'll get to see what happens after that, where it picks up at next week. So anyway, if you happen to like things I said here or don't like things I said here, please feel free to leave your comments down in the comment section under this video. And if you like it, like what I'm talking about here, or like the stuff that I showed here, please feel free to give me a like and maybe even subscribe. If you don't, I don't like anything I said here, then I thank you for your time and hope to see you again, maybe. Either way, I'm the crazy little geeky Star Wars penguin named What About Bob, and may the fish be with you. Later, peeps.